Hello Nidorinas and Nidorinos, I'm KingNido and today we're coming from Legendaries City where it is the Flare hosting the Eterna Devons, and this is actually a rematch from last season's Victory Road where the Legendaries Flare were unable to get a victory for the second season in a row. That is right, the Eterna Devons were able to clean sweep the fire types and they want to do that again here today, but the Flare are looking for their redemption as they're looking to make their way up to the top of the leaderboard. So with that said, let us know in the comments below who you think's going to win this matchup. Will it be the fire types? Will it be the grass types? Let's go!
3, 2, 1, go!
And it is Ludicolo alongside Brambleghast as Brambleghast goes for that Metal Claw onto Houndoom, but Houndoom is joined by Camerupt and Houndoom does respond with the Brine, which is not very effective whatsoever, onto Ludicolo, who's also part water type, and it goes with the Sticky Web, laying that entry hazard out early onto the side of the Legendaries Flare, but Camerupt is going to respond by setting up the Misty Terrain across the entire field. This is going to weaken any Dragon type moves as that mist does swirl around the battlefield. Brambleghast is going to go for the take. Heart nice and early on, boosting the special attack stat alongside that special defense. Now it is much more of a physical attacker as Houndoom is going to respond with the Eerie Impulse onto Ludicolo. It is going to lower that special attack of the grass water type a great deal, but Ludicolo does respond with the strength, getting some good damage there onto Houndoom, but it opens the door for the wing attack from Camerupt, super effective onto Brambleghast, who does respond with the swagger. This is going to leave Camerupt nice and confused, but not before it boosts that physical attack that is base 100, and Houndoom is going to respond with the Harden. It is going to boost that base 50 physical defense as Ludicolo needs to capitalize on that water type, and it goes with the slash. Good damage though onto Camerupt, who does respond with the Nightshade, that consistent damage onto Brambleghast, who is hanging on, and it responds with the Snipe Shot to take Camerupt out of this match with that clutch hang on and elimination, but it is on the receiving end of the Crab Hammer from Houndoom to immediately level the playing field, and it got the critical hit just for good measure as well. But this opens the door for Ludicolo to try and capitalize, and it goes with the Fickle Beam, which does not a lot to Houndoom, as now it is going to be Sunflora coming out for the Eterna Devons. It is Salazzle coming out for the Legendaries Flare, getting caught in that Sticky Web to lower its speed stat as well. And Houndoom is going to go for that Nightshade. We saw this earlier, that consistent damage onto Sunflora, who needs to not eliminate itself this time. We get the Moonlight from Ludicolo dancing in that Moonlight as it is going to restore itself back to full strength, but it hasn't actually taken that much damage, and Salazzle can capitalize with a super effective Vanishock to shut Sunflora out of this game with that super effective move, taking it out. The Legendaries Flare have just taken the lead as the mist is going to disappear from the field as well, and now joining Ludicolo, it is going to be Rabsca, the Terrestrial Drafty for the Eterna Devons, taking on this grass type, and we'll see if it can capitalize on that massive 115 special attack to help the Devons continue this win streak they have over the Legendaries Flare. But Houndoom still with that speed control, continuing to go for these Nightshades. That consistent damage is what the Flare want, but Ludicolo with the Sweet Scent on the field. Now this is going to lower that evasiveness a great deal of the fire types, making them much easier targets. However, Salazzle does respond with the skill swap, focusing in onto Ludicolo there, so it's going to give it its Oblivious and take the Rain Dish away from Ludicolo, switching the abilities between the two as Rabsca is going to follow it up with the Spin Out, going for Houndoom here. Not very effective, doing very little damage, and it lowers the speed of Rabsca in the process, but it's already the slowest on the field as the Dragon Darts from Houndoom first goes for Ludicolo, second goes for Rabsca, connecting with both grass types, but Ludicolo does respond with the guard split, focusing onto Salazzle here. These two going back and forth, sharing its guard between the two, but the Tri-Attack from Salazzle onto Rabsca puts it into knockout range, and Rabsca responds with the Axe Kick. Not very effective onto Salazzle. It should have gone for Houndoom, who does capitalize by going for the Seismic Toss onto Ludicolo. Ludicolo though does go with the Confide into Salazzle. It is going to lower its special attack as Salazzle does respond with the Morning Sun. It is going to restore its health here, and it is a special attack with that 111 base special attack, but it's the rollout now being set up by Rabsco, super effective onto Houndoom. This will be fantastic if it continues to build that momentum on the rollout, but it is on the receiving end of a not very effective Grassy Glide from the Dark Fire type. Ludicolo is going to go for the Magic Room, making it so that everybody's held items do lose their effects, and Salazzle needs to shut Rabsco out of this. Going with the Shadow Force, it's going to vanish instantly. Rabsco needs to continue to focus in onto Houndoom with this rollout, and it does get the elimination of the Dark Fire type, who has been having a fantastic start to this season. And now for the Flare, it is going to be Ninetales entering this match, getting caught in that sticky web as well, having that 100 base speed lowered, but it has that drought ability, so the sunlight will turn harsh, and both these sides could capitalize on that. The Steel Roller from Ludicolo is going to fail, and this allows that Shadow Force to be finished off from Salazzle to take Rabsco out once again, putting the Lava Ridge Flare back in front. And as the Terrestrial Draftee has been eliminated, Ninetales is going to go for the payback onto Ludicolo, putting it into knockout range, and it's been in since the start of this matchup, now being joined by Breloom. And we get the Rock Tomb from Ludicolo, but that is avoided by Ninetales. That would have been super effective, but Breloom is going to go with the Assurance on to Salazzle, getting some good damage there, but Salazzle does respond by flying up high into the sky. This will be super effective if it can connect, but Ninetales first is going for the Force Palm onto Breloom, gets in some good damage, but Breloom responds with the Volt Switch. It doesn't want anything to do with this fly, however, it goes for Salazzle, who's able to avoid that attack. The Heavy Slam from Ludicolo also going to be avoided by Salazzle, allowing it to finish off the fly and take Ludicolo out of this match. And there are now only 2 Pokemon remaining for the Eterno Devons, as the Drill Run from Ninetales, not very effective there, but it does activate the Effect Spore of Breloom, who, as Ninetales is now going to fall asleep, and the last Pokemon for the Eterno Devons is revealed to be Among Us. The smackdown being laid onto Salazzle by Breloom. Fantastic damage, but Salazzle is going to respond with the Metal Sound onto Among Us, trying greatly to lower that special defense, as we have Ninetales still fast asleep here on the field, but the Flare are in control with the 4-2 advantage. Among Us is going to go for the Hyper Beam though onto the sleeping Pokemon, getting some great damage there. As the Magic Room is now going to wear off, Breloom is going to follow it up with the Confide once again onto Salazzle, lowering that special attack even more, but Salazzle is going to respond by going with the Double Edge. It is going to get that recoil damage after doing that damage to Breloom. It is in knockout range, but Breloom, however, is going to chow down on its berry, restoring its health because it was holding on to that citrus berry. And Ninetales is still dozing away there on the field. However, Among Us does have to recharge, and the harsh sunlight is going to fade away. Breloom is going to go with the Wild Charge, putting Ninetales now into knockout range. It gets its own recoil damage, but Ninetales, even in its sleep, is going to chow down on its berry, boosting that special attack thanks to the Star Fairy, and Salazzle is going to go with the Fissure, but it is going to be avoided by Among Us. And Ninetales has finally awoken on the field, going with the sweet scent of its own. We did see this earlier on, that evasiveness now being lowered of the grass types, making them much easier targets than they are the last 2 members remaining of their team. Among Us needs to go for something, and it goes for the Earth Power, super effective, taking Ninetales out of this match. And it is now Torkoal coming out for the Lava Ridge Flare, getting caught in that sticky web that is going to lower its speed, but it's only base 20 as it is on the receiving end of the Waterfall. Super effective there by Breloom. However, Salazzle is going to try and capitalize with the extreme speed, putting Breloom into knockout range. Among Us is going to go with the charge, not going for the elimination of Salazzle. Instead, it's going to begin charging power and boosting that special defense. Torkoal could capitalize. It needs to go for Breloom. Goes with the Grass Knot onto Among Us, not doing much damage whatsoever, but it avoids that effect spore. Breloom is going to go with the Acid, not very effective, onto Salazzle. It's able to hang on. It does lower the special attack of Torkoal. Salazzle is going to respond by setting up for the Meteor Beam. This special attack has been lowered twice as it's going to overflow with space power, boosting that special attack in the process. Among Us needs to get that elimination, goes with the Dynamic Punch, and it's not very effective, but effective enough to level the playing field. It is now a 2 versus 2 contest. Torkoal with the Water Pulse. This will not be very effective at all onto Among Us. And the last Pokemon for the Leverage Flare is Talonflame, immediately taking speed control and then reversing it with that Trick Room. And as it twists those dimensions, it's now Torkoal who's the quickest on the field, going with the Bullet Seed. This will not be very effective onto Breloom, but it's a multi-hit move. It needs to get all 5, but it's only going to connect with 2, so the Fighting Grass type is still in this matchup, as Amoonguss is going to go for the Supersonic onto Talonflame. Talonflame needs to stay focused and shake off this confusion, but before it even gets the opportunity for that, it is going to be Breloom going with the double kick. It gets that first connection onto Torkoal. It connects with the second one, but Torkoal is still in this, and it is going to chow down on its own berry, and it's getting pumped thanks to that Lancet berry after taking those 2 connections. Torkoal is going to go for the air slash, putting Amoonguss into knockout range, but now Amoonguss is chowing down on its berry. It is going to restore its health thanks to it being that Enigma berry that it brought into the match, and it is going to respond with the Defend Order, so it's boosting those defenses here on the field. And Breloom has the opportunity to follow it up here, as it is going to go with the Heavy Slam, but it goes for Talonflame, who it's not very effective on doing very little damage, but Talonflame needs to shake off this confusion or it will be doing damage to itself. However, it shakes it off, it goes with the Dragon Tail, and it's going to send Breloom back to the bench, but that's because it's eliminated it. The Leverage Flare have taken back the lead, and Torkoal follows it up with the Milk Drink. It is going to restore its health here, as it was becoming a much easier target for Amoonguss, who is going to go with the superpower onto Talonflame. Not very effective once again, and in the process it's going to lower those physical stats, both that attack and defense, but Talonflame still in a confused state here on the field. It is successful in shaking it off once again, going for the Electro Web. Not very effective onto Amoonguss, but it is going to lower its speed. That Trick Room is still in play though, as Torkoal goes with the Swords Dance. It is going to boost that physical attack a great deal, but this could open the door for Amoonguss to go with the Extreme Speed. A lot of speed plays in this match, but Talonflame has finally snapped it out of its confusion, going for a rollout of its own. Not doing much damage, but again, it could build momentum. We get the Yawn from Torkoal. They're trying to put Amoonguss to sleep as well. And Amoonguss is going to go for the Power Swap, focusing in onto Talonflame here, switching all changes to its attack and special attack as the rollout continues from Talonflame, putting Amoonguss into knockout range, and the Twisted Dimensions have returned to normal, which means that rollout's going to continue, and it's going to take Amoonguss out of this matchup. The Leverage Flare have redeemed their loss from last Victory Road over the Eterna Devons in fantastic fashion, as the Devons tried to bring it back there at the end, but with that, the Flare have moved themselves up into second place, and next round they are going up against the Ula Macros, a side they have never lost to, whereas it'll be the Pewter Skulls that the Devons will be facing next round. But until then, Nidorinos, thank you so much for watching. Let us know in the comments below who you thought the best was on field, and if you enjoyed what you saw, please leave a like, share, subscribe, but more importantly, always remember, you are awesome, and I will see you when you see me.